In this video, I'll be covering concept art design using photo bashing and painting techniques to develop a pencil sketch. We'll go over the full process and create a character design for VFX that we can then build in 3D using ZBrush, Mari, and Maya. Also, I have a couple of brand new drawing tablets from Xencelabs. I'm very excited to test these out, so let's jump into Photoshop and get started. I have Photoshop open. And the first thing I'm going to do is play around with some different brushes and just see how the tablet performs. I'm using what I would call the regular pen, which is the thicker one. And we'll try both, and we'll just play around for a minute here. I have just a very simple background just to give some value. Definitely will try using the pressure sensitivity. Right off the bat, it feels really nice. I'm able to get very, very smooth lines, and it's extremely responsive. I don't feel any lag whatsoever. And I'm using the default hard round pressure size. So it's default brush settings, it's shape dynamics, and smoothing is turned on. But just testing the default brushes, this feels really nice. I'm able to get a very fine line starting and then build up nicely. And I think there's going to be a bit of a learning curve just getting the amount of pressure that I'm applying to be correct. But I think as I use this more, my hand and brain will adjust to it, because it seems very, very solid. And I love how responsive this is. We could try soft round. Oh, by the way, I absolutely love this thing. This is the Quick Keys macro pad, which has a wheel. And you can get it to do different things. But what I'm excited about is this, where you can resize your brush. I think that's very cool. So I can definitely see using this. It's always been a bit of a pain doing that in Photoshop. You have to hold down Alt and then it's right click and drag. And I always thought that was not ideal. So we'll try out using this. And I'm also using the default settings. So far, I really like the Xencelabs driver. There's only a single window, and it handles, it has your tablet as well as both pens. I'll try the thin pen in a minute. And so far, I'm just trying the default settings. But there's some really interesting stuff in here. Like there's a curve where you can play with the sensitivity. So this is the default sensitivity. You can change it for different programs. And I mostly use Mari and ZBrush. Right, so I'll focus some other videos on that, and we'll develop a character using these tablets. But Photoshop, that's like the base test for any tablet. So we'll go through that first, and in just a minute, I have a cool sketch that we're going to develop into a concept that we can build out as a creature. Yeah, I love how smooth that is. I can draw just a straight line. And there's no jittering or anything like that. The only thing I'm seeing so far is that sometimes if I'm trying to use the bare minimum pressure, sometimes the line breaks, but I think that's just because I'm not used to it yet. So we'll see. And it could also depend on the brush, right? Like this one was a little funky. See that? Like skipped. But I think I'm just not actually touching the tablet. Very, very cool stuff. Let's try some different brushes here. The feel on the tablet where the pen hits the surface is really nice. It has just a little bit of texture to it. It's not glass smooth, and it's also not too rough. If it's too rough, it tends to wear out your pen nibs. I'd like to try some other brushes. I've loaded up a set that I have that I use a lot. And Photoshop also comes with a few folders of brushes. Here's Kyle's Ultimate Pencil. Pastel. Very cool. And Ultimate Inking Thick and Thin. Let's check this out. That's cool. That has a great feel to it. That is awesome. Cartoon brush with some edge breakup. I'm going to jump in and use my brush set. And the most important brush you can have is a square brush. These give a much better result than something round. And this is one that I've used for many years. And I feel you can do almost anything with it. It has little texture. It has really good blending. And it also has really good edges. So those are the things that you tend to need. And that could be for concept art painting as well as painting textures or any VFX work. And this feels great. You can get really nice opacity with it. And then you can also go very light, which is cool. Here's another brush that I've used quite a lot. This is another opaque rectangle. So very similar. And we'll try some different ones. Here's another square brush. The flat brushes are also a lot of fun to use. That's awesome. Very, very cool. Now for the fun parts, I'm going to develop a character. And I've started with a sketch in my sketchbook. This is pencil and pen. And it started off looking like this. This is my sketchbook. And I brought it into Photoshop and just cleaned it up a little bit previously. And I have just a very basic sketch here showing some ideas and some form and shape. This is an alien creature, and he has horns, which I would like to be gold. I think that'd be a very interesting textural choice. So I'm going to make this in 3D, but before I do that, I'm going to spend just a little bit of time sort of fleshing out ideas in Photoshop. And very excited to use the new Xencelabs tablet for this. So this should be fun. I took this sketch into Midjourney And I was able to get some texture options using the retexture feature. And none of these look very good. They're all kind of broken and weird. But they have some cool elements that I can manipulate in Photoshop. So this is a pretty cool technique because we can use our artistic ability to sort of guide Midjourney. And then we can incorporate these things ourselves. This one's really creepy. So this is a great way to quickly sort of bash out a concept. And then we can take this into 3D. So we'll do that, and we'll create it in Maya and sculpt it in ZBrush and texture it in Mari. But this is a really great kind of fun first step. So we'll dive into that here. I'm going to start by bringing everything into Photoshop. And we'll have these available to use here. And just looking at what we have, I have a background and some cleanup. I'm just going to throw these into a group. Just call this sketch. And create a new layer. And we'll look for a good place to start. So one way to do this is I'm just going to drag each of these in. So let's just, we'll go ahead and resize these to fit. I'll just go ahead and duplicate this entire sketch group and flatten it. And you can place this above and just put it on multiply. And since this is dark, I might need to tweak this a little bit. And if I just scale this up, we should get a pretty good match off the bat here. I'd like to be able to control the background separately. And I have some images here. I took these in Vancouver. And I just want something sort of colorful that is very abstract. So I think I'll just grab something out of here. And I'm looking for something that has some nice values in it. It's not too dark or blown out. And I think I'll just use this for now. So I'll just drag that in. Just make a layer here. And then for our background, for our concept art here, we should be able to use some of the new Photoshop tools to quickly isolate this. And look at that. That is neat. I haven't used this updated tool yet. So it's done a pretty good job. There's some holes in it. You can see the dotted line is indicating that we do have a selection. So I'm just going to hit the mask button. And there we go. And for now, I'm just going to paint out this flower. Very quickly do that, and then I'm going to throw a curse on it. Okay, great. So we're starting to set up our concept art. And there are some things I like about this concept. I like this area of the face. So I think that's a pretty good area to keep. But there's definitely some areas like the horns that I think would work better with a different image. So we can look for that. And I love this kind of gold foil texture here. I think this is great. And this will look really cool in 3D when we render it. And also this texture here is really cool. It's this kind of milky. It's hard, but it also has some scattering of the light through the surface. So I think this is really interesting. It has some textural detail as well. There's even hairs coming off it. That's pretty gross. And I think ultimately I want this character to not be too horrific. I want it to be more intelligent and sort of a advanced technological species that is spacefaring. So instead of it being like a gross creature, this will have some depth and sophistication to it. I'm imagining there's a sophisticated culture and society that this creature belongs to. So we're gonna keep that in mind when we are making our creative decisions. And one thing that helps with that is eyes. This is obviously missing eyes, but the eyes will bring a lot to the character's personality. And again, we'll just scale it up and position it here. I actually really like the background of this. This is very cool. So we'll try to sort of mimic that here. I might even make a copy of this. And we'll see if we can generate that background by removing the character. I think that'd be really interesting. Make sure I get that horn. So it's removed the character and filled it in by sampling the area around it, right? The background. Okay, great. And then let's mask out this guy. So it got it in one go there. This is the object selection tool. It's very cool. And then for this one, we can either paint on this mask or we can put it in a group and just kind of keep that mask going. I'm trying to work quickly, but also making layers and groups and just sort of taking advantage of that. And we could just leave that there and remove areas of this one since it's on top. All right, so we could reveal some of that texture beneath. Like so. But let's sort of think about what we want to keep. So we want to keep the face of this, or at least some of it. So let's just give that a shot here. And there's some interesting sort of detail lines that we're revealing here. Yes, maybe focus on those. I don't care for the mouth on this. It's pretty mangled. So that's another area we can reveal. I think everything else on here is pretty cool. So we'll just go ahead and keep that for now. And I'd like to find a different image that has some golden horns. So let's go ahead. And let's incorporate some of this gold here for the horns. So we have this image, and then let's see what else we have. I thought this was very cool. Let's go ahead and start with this one. Drag it. And we'll go ahead and isolate our our golden foil area of the image. This tool is really great. I like this. So you can get a very quick mask that way. And let's throw this in a group. And so we'll leave it in the horns and just kind of paint it out on the face. Decide where we want this to be revealed. And characters like this will have symmetry, right? This is an organism that has bilateral symmetry. So we have pretty good start on that, but we want to keep that in mind and do any corrections needed so that we don't end up with an asymmetrical face. It's good to have a little bit of asymmetry, but if there's too much, then the brain doesn't really recognize it as being a face. So our human brains are very, very attuned to that. You know, I'm going to try to avoid any sort of kind of soft edges here. We're looking for more of a hard blending using our brush. And just finding some interesting sort of points to blend this in. And I think it looks a little too much like wrinkly foil here. So we'll likely remove that. I might even just chop this whole thing. Yeah, this wheel is awesome. You can literally be painting and resize your brush without even thinking about it. This is very cool. And I think I'm going to take this even further. Just go that way. And what we're trying to do here isn't necessarily to create a finished image. What we're after is ideas. And the ideas will dictate and allow us to create the character in 3D. Right, so what we've just sort of explored here is what are the features of this head, right? So where does the horn integrate into the skull, right? So we've sort of defined that here. And when we're sculpting, we'll also have an idea that this is a certain material, right? And that's going to affect the surface properties in ZBrush when we're sculpting. I think these blacks are a little too dense, so let's go ahead and fix that with a curve. And I don't know why this is not working properly. You would think that if you put a curve inside of a group, it would just affect the things in the group, but it does not. You have to Alt-click here, and then it'll just affect the what's under it. It's kind of annoying. But anyway, to correct those blacks, you can lift it up. You know, we'll try to match, you know, something in this range here, right, without it being too washed out. Just kind of correct that. If I toggle that on and off. But this is starting to look really neat. And we're going from kind of a messy concept that didn't make any sense to something that is more thought out. And I'm very interested in how the eyes are going to work. So we'll take a look at that very soon. And let me just, I'm going to pause and organize this for a moment. I'd like to work in the eye area, and I have a couple images here that I think could work very well for this. And I'm not sure exactly about the positioning, right? You can see the position in the sketch. But when I look at the image without the sketch overlay, it does kind of look like the eye would be a bit lower. So we'll have to sort of decide that here. I'm going to start by just grabbing this eye. So if I go with the sketch position, it's roughly there. And let me just and I would expect this to look very odd at the moment, but we'll see if we can blend this in a little better. just trying to figure out how to get these to look natural. Without having them look stuck on, which they definitely are at the moment. And there needs to be some sort of facial structure and bone structure that supports the eyes. On a human skull, we have the orbital socket and ridge. Right, so this creature would need something like that. And he would also likely need some way to blink as well. So that's important. It's these subtle little changes that really make a huge difference. And we're just going to play with the eye spacing as well. They were a bit too close together previously. You know, continue to eat away at these dark values. See if that helps. I think it'd be really neat if you had some indication of sadness. I think that would be a very interesting sort of character personality trait. So see if we can hint at that. Maybe he's suffered some kind of loss previously. I think the colors of this image aren't quite gelling, so we can try to color correct as well. I'm trying to leave just a little bit of shadow in there because that's going to help me to create some depth in the skull. I need to figure out how to set these back into the surface a bit. But that's actually not a bad start right there. So keep working away at this. I think one issue is that we've flipped our eye, right? So our highlight is now opposite. So let's see if we can fix that here. So that's not too bad. I think, you know, again, this does not have to be perfect. So we're trying to indicate the ideas that we're going to make in 3D. That is the point. Cool thing is you can move this whole thing around. So that's one option. We can turn off our visibility and duplicate this. And we can explore different things very quickly. All right, I think that's looking promising. And I think we can start to explore options for the mouth and the nose. I think the nose is pretty easy. We'll do kind of a minimalist nose. But the mouth, I think there could be some different options here. So we'll explore that next. Usually characters need a mouth for a few reasons. One is to speak, and then another would be just to maintain some believability, right? Characters have to eat, right? Because they're organisms. And in general, what you see here, this is an anthropomorphic character. So it has a skull and it has a neck, right? So presumably the neck is used for breathing as well as eating. So it probably needs a mouth to survive. So let's just sort of play around with putting one in. And I think in the sketch, I had it up here. This might be a little too high, but we'll try it out and see how it goes. And my idea was that I have these kind of repeating dual spike patterns. So these are meant to be something similar to an incisor. And one way to get that is to simply duplicate some of the data that we have already. Let's try that. trying to just sort of hint at some teeth. And I also want to avoid any appearance of a smile. I think that would not be appropriate. It's a little better. It's not smiling. So I think we can jump in and work on the nose. I think for the nose, we'll just go ahead and paint it. Grab some colors. This does a lot to indicate the presence of a face, which is really interesting. And we can try to hint at some of the structure here. Maybe we just set that in to these existing sort of cracks in the surface there. That could be I also wanted to indicate how the mouth opens. Currently, there's some cracks or lines here, but I don't think that's a good sort of mouth opening. I think the mouth would open underneath this horn. And again, it's very easy to have a character look like they're smiling. So we'll continue to try to avoid that. So another option would be to start it higher. Right, so it could be something like that. That might break up that smile. And I'm noticing that this horn is a bit misplaced, so we can fix that as well. Yeah, I'm just doing a slight color correction to get that to set in. And if you can't see that, I've essentially taken our black line, color corrected it. So this is starting to come together into something that looks like a character design. So I think we'll keep working on some different areas, and I think we'll be able to wrap this up quickly. And we'll just sort of hint at an ear here. I think that will be helpful. I think we're going to call this done. I think it's a very cool image. It's a really cool sort of hint or sketch at a character with some really cool features and an indication of personality and history. This guy looks like he comes from somewhere and he has a society. So I think those are very interesting concepts and subjects. And we're going to explore that more in upcoming videos. I'll sculpt this in ZBrush very soon, and then we'll texture it and render it. So stay tuned.